I've known Jackie Hosking for many years, almost as long as I've been writing, although I don't think she's that old. But, Jackie lives in Anglesey, just outside Anglesey, and she's a children's poet and picture book author, and she has a passion and talent for rhyme and metre. Jackie is also one of those people who gives an awful lot to the industry and what she does. She was born in Nigeria to Cornish parents. That's going to be brought up, and moved to Australia when she was 10. Her poems regularly appear in the school magazine and have been published in anthologies around the world. Her first picture book, which I was delighted to be at the launch of, The Croc and the Platypus, came out a couple of years ago with Walker. Her next book, and we'll talk about Tabitha, Temper Tabitha, will be released in August, and she has others on the way. She's been awarded the Maurice Saxby Mentorship and the May Gibbs Creative Time Fellowship, which is such a gift. She also edits Pass It On, a writing magazine, and she edits poetry. I actually don't know when she sleeps. Jackie Hosking, how are you?
So good. Very good. Thank you so much for having me, Sue. Great to see you. I actually see you. It's crazy.
I know, it is crazy, isn't it? So when do you sleep?
At night time. Yeah, no, I mean, because I do all my work from home, obviously. There's no travel. I don't have to waste time doing all that. So it's plenty of time.
Are you a very organised worker, or do you just go with, okay, I want to do this? Or do you have to timetable to be able to do what you do?
I very much have to be in the headspace to do the one thing at a time. Yeah. So if I'm editing other people's rhyme, I have to have everything else done. I can't be doing bits of this and bits of that. Yeah, I very much have to be in my own sort of headspace to do each thing. Yeah, definitely.
Have you noticed during COVID that, like my husband, for example, who works in an office, just finds it so difficult to work at home, but for us who work at home, it's sort of situation normal?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I've actually found out here, which is interesting. I live out in Jurang, which is a little, what they call it, a little place. Little place I used to have
Hamlet.
out there. So, hamlet. It is called a hamlet. That's what I wanted. It's been busier out here because everybody's been home. So I'll go for a walk in the bush and I'm bumping into people's dogs and horses, and it's actually been really annoying. Everyone gets back to work. I don't like it.
Give us
Writing poetry out here.
Well, let's go back to Cornish parents living in Nigeria. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, my dad's a mining engineer. So he just got, and same the reason that we came out to Australia as well. So he was just posted to Nigeria. So we were there for about 3 years, I think it was. The Civil War broke out, which is why we had to leave. So we went then back to Cornwall for a bit. So I lived there then till I was 10. So from 7 till 10. Yeah, and then he just got another posting in Australia. And when we got here, he didn't want to leave. So we never did.
Lucky for us. How do you think that, and I know 3, it does affect us, but not on a conscious level. How do you think having that background has influenced your writing?
I don't know, honestly. No, good question. I don't know. I know initially when my parents were out here, my mum wasn't super happy about being here. And so Dad used to write a lot of scathing poetry about Australia. And he's always, been a rhyme and metre person too. So he would stand up and read these out at barbecues and things, and it was all quite hilarious, but quite negative in the beginning. But it softened, and I don't know. And it's like maybe I went the opposite way and just embraced the Australian, everything about Australian nature, bush, everything. It's what I write about all the time. So yeah, maybe that way. Maybe just try not to be like my parents.
Oh, we're such cliches, aren't we? Jackie, with that, when you said your dad did the scathing poetry, I wonder if that's where your sense of humour comes from, because I imagine it would have been done with humour.
Yeah, probably too. Yeah, I do love a bit of sarcasm. Definitely enjoy a bit of sarcasm and a bit of, if I can shock somebody. That's possibly, though, comes too from the fact that I think I'm actually a bit shy. So, how often people who have a sense of humour or whatever want to deliver, help people laugh, if you like. It's to make them feel more comfortable in the situation that they're not feeling very comfortable in.
Exactly. Did you ever try prose as opposed to poetry, or has poetry just been your thing?
I have written short stories and articles and things. It doesn't come as naturally, and I don't enjoy doing it as much. I don't know, I just find the challenge of writing in rhyme and have it, but as smooth as prose, like I'd like to say that, the rhyme should always be incidental, should never drive what you're writing. Yeah, so, and I did do Lorraine Marwood's poetry course years ago, prose poetry, and I actually did enjoy it, but I really needed to be guided. It wasn't something that comes naturally to me. So, yeah, rhyme just seems to be the thing that absolutely flows from me easily. So that I'm lucky, I guess.
Jackie, I know over the time I've known you, you are one of those hardworking people who has stuck with it and stuck with it to get their picture book published. What is your advice to young writers, to people maybe trying to crack into getting published?
For me, I didn't have a choice. It was do what you love. I know a lot of authors say, find a niche, find something that's missing in the market and write for that gap. But I've never been that way inclined. I've always just written the way that I love to write. And I think, and I don't know, maybe Stephen King said it, somebody said it, the more you do something, obviously, the more of an expert you become, just because you're practicing. They say you are what you practice. So do what you love. I mean, I really, really think that's what worked for me. I just kept going and just kept going. Always, always, always send stuff out. Because even if you're getting rejections, someone's read it, and that's to me is a win. Somebody's read what I've written, and whether they liked it or didn't like it, it's a win. So I don't know, that's what I would say.
Do you remember the first acceptance you got?
I do. It was actually, I was writing for adults. It was funny how it happened, actually, because the Bad Mothers Club is a website in England. And she had written something had been in the paper in Australia, and a friend of mine said to me, "Oh my goodness, Jackie, you should send something into her. She's right up your alley." So she was pretty much about, mothers and parenting and how tricky that can be. And I'd written a couple of silly poems that I just emailed off to her as, as a joke, really. You might find this amusing, blah, blah, blah. And then she got back to me and she goes, "Oh, I'd love to publish that." And she mentioned a figure, an amount that she was going to pay me, but I, being so naive and new to the industry, thought I had to pay her. So that was hilarious. So that was my first. My first was with the Bad Mothers Club, which possibly is true where I should belong.
No. I know you. No, definitely not. Definitely not.
No, but my first school magazine acceptance, which was like my big kind of break, I felt, into the Australian market, if you like, was my poem, If I Were a Giant. And that one is still going around. It's in India now in one of their teach English books, to their students. And that's just gorgeous that's still going. So I'd love that one.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Who was the first illustrator? I'm going to say who I thought it was, but I may get it wrong. For the Giant.
Kim Gamble.
Oh, that's what I thought. And I thought I didn't want to say it and go. So how was that to have Kim Gamble?
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Just so thrilling. And that's exactly right. I was talking to you before about that. One of my biggest thrills and passions of writing poetry and picture books is the pictures, is the illustrations. Just to see how somebody else, another human being, has taken what I've written down and come up with an idea themselves. Biggest thrill ever. Can't wait to get the school magazines in the mail. It's like, and they haven't come because we've had the COVID situation, so they haven't come yet this month. So I'm waiting on one at the moment. It's like, oh, I just can't wait to see it. Yeah.
Do you think you're a regular now for the school magazine? I would call you a regular.
Yeah, I think so. I've been writing for them since 2004, I think. And of course, it's about also the more you submit. Like, I wasn't submitting much there for a while, and then they changed the rules and said you could only submit 12 times a year, and they had themes you had to write to. I don't like writing to themes. I find that really difficult. I just like to write, what I write. So they've stopped doing that now, which is good. So now I just keep sending, sending and sending. Yeah. I've actually just had 3. They've just told me they're holding 3 at the moment. So they do that now. Instead of accepting immediately, they'll hold. So, I mean, it's obviously about keeping the business going and keeping things, not having a backlog of stuff, I guess, sitting there. But yeah, so that's your first step. They'll tell you they're interested. They'll hold it. Then they'll accept it or reject it. And then, so it's a process. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Let's talk about illustrating, because it always amazes me what other people interpret from your work. Have you ever had one that you could just go, yeah, no, that's just not my story? You don't have to say who it was.
No, I probably have, actually. Yeah. Although, to be honest, I'm just thrilled to death when anybody does anything at all with my work. I certainly wouldn't be going, oh, no. So no, probably no, not that way. But I was going to show you, I don't know if you wanted to ask the question directly, but talking about different illustration styles with, say, the same poem, which I had happen with a poem called A Desert Sky. So the school magazine did it originally with Matt Otley.
Just tip it a tiny bit forward.
That way. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Oh, better? Gorgeous.
So it's a desert sky. So he has illustrated a sky that looks like a desert, hasn't he? So that's that version. And then we've got Tanya McCartney's interpretation, where she's done a desert that looks like the sky. So it's a very different interpretation. And I just think they're both beautiful and so different. So that's, absolutely love it. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, they are.
I can't draw to save myself.
And the lovely thing is they're both beautiful. Like, you couldn't pick a favourite out of those two.
No. Yes.
Yep. So how different is writing poetry to writing picture books?
Well, the way I would describe them, the difference, I guess a story in verse could be a picture book. That's how I see a picture book. It's a story written in verse. So it's got a beginning, a middle and an end, like any story. Where a poem, I think, captures a moment or an emotion or a feeling, tends to have more metaphor and simile and that sort of, the poetry tools that you can use. Yeah, I actually run a competition once a year called Jackie's Spring Poetry Competition, where I do ask for rhyming stories in verse and rhyming poetry. But I do separate them. I don't judge them against each other. I have them as 2 sections. And a lot of people ask that question, well, what's the difference? Because a lot of people would call The Man from Snowy River a poem. So, it's like a poem maybe encompasses all of it. But a story is a story, isn't it?
Yeah. And have you enjoyed the process of writing picture books?
Yeah, love it. Yeah, love it. Absolutely do. It's a long process though. Like sometimes it can be really, really long. So you do have to have a lot of patience and, the editing side of it too. It's back and forward, back and forward. I mean, the one with Walker that's coming out early next year, that's been like years in the making.
And then throw in COVID and other little joys, and you sort of go, you get to the point, did I write that? That is the good thing. When you have had to wait, you edit it better because you go, oh.
Yes. But what I kind of like too is the fact that it's always having something coming. So that's what you want to try and have to, because between The Croc and the Platypus and my next acceptance was 6 years. So, I mean, in terms of picture books, I've had poetry in between and different, anthologies and things. But, it was a big step because I always fancied, once I got the first one, I'd be like, oh, we do one a year now. That'll be that. It doesn't happen like that often. But then they all came in a tumble. So
they do. And people go, gosh, you've been busy. And you feel like, well, that's about 8 years worth of work you're seeing in 3 months. So just calm the farm.
Exactly. I know. It's very deceiving. Absolutely.
Jackie, before we get onto your new picture book, I know you also edit poetry. How important do you think it is for people to have that person who maybe doesn't even know them to look at their work critically? I mean, constructively, but critically.
It's definitely worth having somebody else at least read over. If you're writing in rhyme and meter, really important to make sure you know what meter is, and that it's in its natural place rather than being forced, which is what can happen sometimes when you only read your own work. I'll go back and read work that I've written years ago and go, gosh, that's not right. The meter's wrong there. How did I get away with that? So I think it's really important to at least have somebody else read it aloud to you. Actually, can be really helpful. I mean, obviously, come to me if you want something a bit more in depth, because I really do go into what meter is and how you can tweak it and make it, as tight as it can be. I think it is rhyme and meter. They're hand in hand. Meter is key. Rhyme, like I said, should be incidental. Story is the number one thing. Have a good story. If you're writing a picture book or writing a verse story, the story is key, then the meter, and the rhyme should be incidental. That should be like the delicious, and it rhymes as well, when you're reading it along. It shouldn't drive a story ever. So that's very important.
This is a main question because I haven't warned you about this, but have you got a favourite picture book at the moment that you just go, oh, you nailed it, this is beautiful? The meter, the rhyme, the whole thing.
Anything Aaron Blabey writes, I mean, he's hilarious, and can illustrate as well, so I just go a bit gaga over that. Anything Zeus does, obviously, I mean, I just love that. Scholastic bring out some fantastic rhyming stuff, so a lot of their stuff, I can't think of anything off the top of my head at the moment, because yes, I wasn't warned.
No, you weren't warned. I used to love, I still do love, The Terrible Plop. I absolutely
yes,
love.
I was just going to say Ursula Dubosowski's The Terrible Plot. That, oh my goodness, I just rolled around laughing. That was so, so good. Look, anything that makes me laugh, I love. Yeah. And if it rhymes and it's perfect rhyme, I'm just like, oh, yeah.
So let's get to Tabitha, because she certainly made me laugh. How did you come up with the idea for Temper Tabitha?
Just going back to when I had young children and being in a supermarket or shopping and them wanting this and wanting that. Yeah, and just wishing I wasn't there. Yeah, definitely. So just a funny account. And we've all seen temper tantrums, haven't we, too? Or temper Tabitha. See, my mum used to say, don't be a temper Tabitha. And I thought everyone knew that term, but apparently not. It might have been just hers. So
I
temper
haven't
Tabitha.
heard that. That's a ripper.
Yeah. She would say to me, don't be a temper Tabitha. So I thought, well, I'll write about temper Tabitha. Love her. So maybe it was me I'm writing about.
No, I think you've just put every tantrum you've ever seen into the one book. Something you mentioned earlier with Temper Tabitha is the end. You had to really play with that, didn't you, for what it was?
Yeah, because I was a bit, I wrote it a bit more like the Bad Mothers Club style, where I was really kind of making a joke, I guess, of the temper Tabitha, and her not really learning a lesson at all at the end. She just went on, caused complete havoc and chaos, and then carried on her merry way wanting something else when it all went went into a big kerfuffle. So it was suggested that possibly we need Tabitha to be a bit more pleasant at the end, possibly. So I did play with that, and that was really good, actually. And the illustrator has made her more pleasant again, because she's got a fabulous twist at the end that she came up with all on her own, and that's what I absolutely love. That it's really a collaboration. Once you give that text over, it's the publisher, the illustrator. It's no longer your book, it's our book. And I love that. And so she's added a whole other layer, and which obviously that's what picture books are supposed to do, have more than one layer. It's not just the text. Yeah, so she's done a brilliant job at the end, made her even sweeter than I had her.
But I love that. That's also a lesson in the reality, like what would happen in life where your child would possibly go off and have another tantrum, to what picture books do in story and how we have to change that.
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
gumboots. The gumboots.
Yes, I know. Yes, the way she's got her dressed up. She's just adorable.
Yeah,
She
she
is
is.
adorable. Yeah.
You have much to do with your illustrators during the process, or do you hand it over and go, right, your turn?
Yeah, no, I don't really have much to do at all. It all comes via the publisher. So, yeah, so the illustrator Lee Russack sends what she's done to the publisher, and then the publisher sends to me, and then, yeah, so we sort of do that. They're sort of the meeting point, the publisher. I have spoken to her sort of briefly, but not really on a technical level ever about any of the illustrations. She's just gone right ahead and done that. Yeah, I sort of stay out of that. I sort of don't want to be involved in it, really, to be honest. I just think you have that now it's your turn. Yeah, so no, I don't really talk to illustrators about what they're up to.
So Tabitha, or I should give her proper name, Temper Tabitha. Temper Tabitha comes out in August. So in the lead up, you're doing something a bit cute and a bit special.
Well, yeah, I mean, I found just accidentally a local gift shop over Easter was selling these gorgeous little bunnies, and this bunny with its floppy ears is exactly the same as the bunny in Tabitha. I haven't got a copy of Tabitha, but I can show you my attempt at colouring her in, and you can see the bunny there with its ears flopping about. So I just bought a few of them. I've got 3 or 4 of them here. And what I thought was, if you wanted to go in the draw to win one of these bunnies, which they're worth $30, so they're really beautifully made and soft, just beautiful.
They are beautiful bunnies, and guaranteed not to have been by Tabitha. So they're in pristine condition.
They are pristine. So, yeah, I thought I might run a little competition where if you pre-order a copy of Tabitha, either through Booktopia or wherever you go normally to shop online, or you can do them through me. You'll get it signed, of course, if you want it signed, if you order it through me directly. And I'll just run that till the 1st of August, the release date, and just put you in a hat, and yeah, you might get a chance to win a little bunny.
So the best way to do that is to go to your website, Jackie?
Probably the easiest way is to do it, just email me, possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's just my name, Jackie Hosking @bigpond.com.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I'll just point everybody in the direction of your website, because it is, I don't know how you've all got it all in there. That is exploding. If that was a box and you open the lid, it would explode. There is so much information in there. So go and have a look at Jackie's website. Keep your eye out for Temper Tabitha, and make sure you pre-order so that you can win the bunny, because they're gorgeous. One last thing. Pass it on. You've been editing that e-zine for ages and ages. Would you like to give it a little push?
Sure. Well, it's an online e-zine that's designed for anybody and everybody interested in the children's book industry, pretty much in Australia, although there are opportunities that I put in there from all over the world, because obviously now with online you can submit things everywhere. So it comes out fortnightly. You can publicise your own book news in there with me. I interview writers each fortnight. I interview illustrators. We have a book of the week, a book of the fortnight now. It used to be weekly, now it's fortnightly, where we meet a new book that's coming out. So lots and lots of stuff, all current, up to date, lots of competitions and publishing opportunities, and just what's going on. And it just keeps it. A lot of, I was wondering how useful it was now that we've got Facebook and lots of social media, but I've sort of found that there's now so much information again, you're having to hunt through it. So this kind of pares it down into an easily sort of read fortnightly e-zine that's pretty much got what's going on in the industry, keeps everyone up to date.
Yeah, and it's all there, it's correct, and you can trust it. I was trying to think of the proper grown-up word for trust it, but authentic. It's authentic, and you know it's what you're getting in PIO, as
Yeah,
it's called, pass it on, is
yeah, pass
yeah,
it on,
good.
yeah. And I actually dropped the price of it a couple of years ago to take into account that there is so much information out there that you can get for free if you've got the time to hunt and hunt and hunt. So I dropped it, the price right down. So it's such good value. It really is very, very cheap.
Mm. And
Mm.
I think, again, it's testament to your passion for the industry and for writing, and yeah, just that support. I think people who support the industry need to get a big pat on the back. So I'm patting you on the back virtually.
Oh, thank you. I'll pat you too.
At a socially acceptable distance, thank you.
Yes, yes, of
Jackie, it's
course.
always a pleasure to talk to you. I can't wait to officially meet Temper Tabitha. She is fantastic. Good luck with Tabitha and with the other projects coming up soon. And thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much. You're so welcome. Thanks, Sue.